Got any more hamburger? Asked Benny as the three-headed dog stalked toward us. No, I said, hadn't planned on feeding 3 miles. What a pity, said a dry voice behind us. One chance other hit get so jealous, and that, my young visitor, is a dangerous thing. Benny and I swiveled to take in this new threat while still keeping an eye on one Chan, apparently the dog creature's name, unless there was another three-headed monster lurking around here somewhere. Framed by an open side door stood Haruki Hanzomon, billionaire scientist and general oddball. He wore, he wore a royal purple smoking jacket over oddly sage green pants. Pouchy, half-lidded eyes examined us with the emotion of a stone lion in winter. Benny recovered first. Hi, he said. Mind if we come inside for a bit? A faint sneer pulled up the billionaire's lip. Give me one good reason I shouldn't leave you to your fate. Benny's worried glance telegraphed his message. I got nothing. One Chan resumed his three-part growling, stalking ever closer. I sucked in a breath and a crazy inspiration hit me. We are the scientist heroes of tomorrow, I said, with demented enthusiasm, and we've come to learn from you. A corner of Mr. Hanzomon's mouth twitched. It may have been the pass for a smile with this guy, or it may have been gas. Most people try the front gate first. His eyes flickered toward the wall with scale. But I admire your, how do you Americans say, get up and go. Thanks, I said. We were excited to see you, we just got up and went. The scientist stared at us for a painfully long moment, before turning and sweeping a hand toward the door. Please come inside. As soon as Bunny and I made a move toward safety, the three-headed dog's growl escalated into barks. Its hackle stood up like a tiny dark forest and its ill mane seethed. One chance, sit, snapped Mr. Hanzomon. Instantly the fearsome creature plopped down onto his haunches. Those 6 red-rimmed eyes stayed glued to us, but the bugs cut off like a dropped cell phone call. That was all the invitation we needed. Benny and I hustled through the door. Behind us, the billionaire murmured, "Who's my good boy?" When I glanced back, he was slipping doggy treats to all 3 heads. Why in the world did the billionaire have a monster guard dog, I wondered. Did he collect strange and dangerous things? Inside, I paused on a gleaming wood floor and took in my surroundings. What can you say about a fancy office? It was smaller than the Palace of Versailles, barely, and it wasn't quite as flashy as the Taj Mahal. Other than that, it had the usual amount of priceless artwork, expensive furniture, and massive square footage you expect from a mind-blowing expensive facility. Shutting the door behind him, Mr. Hanzomon inclined his head to us. Let's go visit the lab, shall we? Moving stiffly but gracefully, like an ancient panther, he led the way. The faint scent of gardenias trailed in his wake. So I racked my brains for a small talk. Nice dog. Wan-chan is very loyal, he said. Sweet-tempered too, I said. Bunny chimed in. Love the extra heads, more to pet. And the eels, nice touch. Aren't they ocean creatures? The scientist's bristly eyebrows rose. With the proper science, all things are possible. Right, I said, realizing with a chill that Mr. Hanzomon was no simple collector of oddities. His research involved messing with living creatures. Yay, science. As we passed a side hallway, two black-haired giants in charcoal gray suits joined us. It took me a while to realize they were women, the kind of woman who could wrestle Mrs. Tamasisi to a standstill and still have enough energy to subdue a small country. I suppressed a shudder. Was our host leading us someplace quiet to these Amazons could snap our spines like steel churros. Someplace where our blood wouldn't stain the nice floor. This way, said Mr. Hanzomon, stepping into an open elevator cab. I doubt. Too late to back out now. With the guards crowding behind me, I joined Benny and the scientists in the wood-paneled car. The Amazon on the right pressed a button, the doors closed, and we descended so smoothly you could barely tell we were moving. When the doors whooshed open, my jaw practically hit the floor. A vast, shining space stretched out before us, crammed with vats, beakers, test tubes, lasers, operating tables, and mysterious machines. It was like someone had raided a research lab or us, store, and stocked this place with it. Welcome to my little laboratory, said Mr. Hanzomon. We entered the building. It seemed longer and wider than the building itself, and well equipped enough to make Einstein drool with jealousy. I like what you've done with the place, said Benny. Very sciencey. My gaze fell on a nearby device about the size of a clothing store, changing booths with huge microscopes on either side. What's this one do? Stepping over to it, Mr. Hanzomon stroked the machine like a favorite pet. The gene splicer, he said. Care to have the eyes of a fly, or the legs of a cheetah? No thanks, I said. I'm good. This machine can make it happen, he said. I sidled away, feeling clammy. My heartbeat accelerated like a Maserati. Unless he was making a bad joke, this guy had the power to do whatever he wanted with us, to turn us into monsters if he felt like it. And there wasn't a thing we could do. Wow, said Benny, running a hand over a centrifuge twice as tall as he was. You are pretty well stocked. Care to lend a hand with our science project? The scientist made a sound like a wombat's wheeze. I guess it was a chuckle. That would be cheating, he said. Real heroes don't cheat. His half-lidded eyes surveyed us, like he knew exactly what kind of heroes we were hoping to be. Right, I said. My desk rested on an exam table equipped with straps. I suppressed another shudder. Maybe you could give us some advice. Mr. Hanzomon made a slow nod. Our science fair project is on biotech, and the possibility of doing a mashup between two animals. One of the scientist's eyebrows twitched. Mashup? What is this term? That's when you combine different things together, said Benny helpfully. You know, like a cow and a gorilla, said, or a mosquito and warthog. Or even, I said, a lion and a scorpion. I watched closely, but Mr. Hanzomon didn't react. Either his whole face had been Botoxed, or he was one cool customer. And your question? He asked. We were wondering whether that mashup would act more like one part of itself than the other, I said. The billionaire cocked his head, considering us. Depend, Depends on the creature, he said at last, and the scientists who created it. For instance, my own private Cerberus. One chan reacts entirely like a dog, not an eel. I was interested in spite of myself, but you could have made him act more eel-like. Certainly, but then he wouldn't be much use as a watchdog. Good point, said Benny. You don't see many watch eels these days. I didn't know about my friend, but I felt like I was walking in a minefield. One wrong step, one wrong word, and kablooey. Nobody would ever see us again. So hypothetically speaking, I said if someone wanted to motivate a hybrid creature, he have to. Another dry whiz. Try both the carrot and the stick, said Mr. Hanzomon. Thanks, but the carrot's probably tastier, said Benny. Precisely, said the scientist. He strode past the exam table. The Amazonian guard stayed where they were, arms crossed, blocking the elevator door. There was no other exit. Sweat trickled from my hairline. Do you know why I'm so interested in biotech? The billionaire asked, lifting a staple from an instrument tray and toying with it. No, I said. Sighting along the blade, he said, because humanity has grown weak. There are no heroes anymore, just, he sniffed, two-faced politicians, self-absorbed YouTube stars, and people famous for being famous. I thought of my sister Veronica, but she wasn't just an empty celebrity. She loved acting, and was pretty good at it. What about athletes, said Bunny, who was crazy about basketball. They are heroes. Mr. Hanselman's lips curled. Overpaid buffoons playing children's game. How could they perform against a manticore or a minotaur? Like dog, like a great nymph? I asked. The billionaire turned to face us, his eyes kindling with fire. Perseus, Jason, Atlanta, none those were heroes. Benny frowned. But you know they're mythological, right? Mr. Hanselman continued as if Benny hadn't spoken. A different age, a better age. Buttoning, he strode toward a series of steel tanks along one wall. I looked at Benny, who shrugged and followed. I joined him. Apart from the obvious, what was the difference between that era and our own? Said the scientist. Indoor plumbing, Benny gasped. Deodorant? I said. Ruddy false, said Mr. Hanselman. He stopped at the waist-high control panel that fronted the tanks. Theirs was an age of heroes and awesome enemies. But there are no such challenges in our world today, and so no heroes. Benny's eyes met mine. No challenges? We could tell him a thing or two about that. Our lives had been nothing but challenges lately. And that, said the billionaire, is why I began Project Gorgon. He pressed several buttons. Panels slid aside in 3 closet beds to reveal plexiglass windows. Curious, I stepped closer. When I saw that was inside, my knees buckled, and the wall seemed to close in on me.